It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
Hey guys, how is it going? And welcome to the Morning Star Drive on 117.8. It is Friday, December 8th, and so happy for you joining us. We are ready to start another day together with the Lord. So subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on SoundCloud, and make sure to support us on Patreon. So today we have an exciting podcast for you. We have Until the End with Daniel Baker, the Wednesday Message Word Study, and of course commentaries, updates, and news on what is happening around the world in this history today. All right, everyone, how are you doing and how was your week? Yes, excited. It is Friday, the last day of the week before we get into the weekend. I'm just really happy that we got to the end. I am in Taiwan at this moment, probably for about less than a week. I haven't even bought my ticket yet, but I'm going to be there less than a week. Yeah, I've been having a great time here, more and more, just meeting more people, going to more regions. I'll tell you a little bit more about it, but if you haven't yet, leave a like and comment on this video right now, right? Whether it's a comment, whether it's a like, whatever it is, please leave one to build our community together. Just super happy for everyone joining us every weekday on the Morning Star Drive. So let's get up and support each other each and every day. This week's Sunday message title is Ask Me About My Heart. All right, so yes, it is the last day of the week, and I'm very, very happy and excited. It feels like I think we're closing in on 2.5 weeks that I've been here in Taiwan. I'm loving it here. Well, here's a funny thing that happened this morning. I went to get a, I'm not sure what it is. I'm not sure if you guys have experienced the same thing. It was like 7:30 in the morning, looking for a place to get coffee, and the only place open that early is a Starbucks. And you know how much I hate Starbucks, right? So it's the only place open that early. So I went to Starbucks and I was kind of dreading like, I know how this is going to taste. It's going to be really bad. But when I arrived, it was weird. I was standing in line and I was like, what should I get? And when I got to the front of the line, it dawned on me. I was like, wait a second. I've got this good coffee at home. Like people have been giving me like coffee gifts, like these pour overs and stuff that I can make at home. I was like, man, I got good coffee at home. And I was like, yeah, why would I need to get bad coffee over here anyways? But then I'm already at the front of the line. So I'm just like, what do I do? Like the person's looking at me and can I just leave? I feel really bad. So, and I feel like I wasted my time. So I was like, I got to get something. So, instead of getting a coffee, I just ordered like this double cheese bun. Right? I took it to go. Then I went home and made my own coffee and stuff. I'm not sure. You guys ever had that experience? Right? Like it dawns on you right when you get to the front of the line that I don't need to get this. I have better stuff at home or somewhere else. And then because you kind of feel bad, like, man, I wasted so much time waiting in line, I might as well get something. I'm not sure if you guys got that. Like, I don't know. It was so weird for me. I was just like going, why do I feel compelled to buy something? Like I really felt compelled. Like I'm going to go buy something right now because I've already waited this long anyways. I've walked all the way over here. And now I'm standing in front of this cash girl, and she even said to me like, "You want a coffee?" And I was like, "Gosh, can I say no to that?" But I was like, "No, it's okay." So I just got this cheese bun and I went home. But it was a really weird thing. I'm not sure if it's happened to you guys. Just post in the comments below if you've had a similar experience like that too. Right now, I'm actually in a hotel in Hualien, and I took a train this morning. Well, after Starbucks, I took a train this morning. And man, it's they have this they have a high-speed rail here. I'm not even sure how fast it goes, but it's really nice because it takes you all across the country, right? It's much faster than a car too. So I was able to come here in about 2 hours when it takes about 3.5 to drive. So I'm saving an hour and a half, and I'm not driving at all. So it's very, very comfortable taking this train, and it's like another like vacation spot. I'm talking to people, they're like, some people from other countries would come to Hualien to go on their honeymoon and stuff. Like that's how nice this place is. And it's like right on the Pacific Ocean, tons of mountains, really beautiful. And apparently, according to what Sunseem said it was the most beautiful place in Taiwan. And this is an interesting thing. Sunseem was here for less than a day. He flew in to Hualien. He spent less than a day and he left. But he said it was one of the most beautiful. He said it was the most beautiful place in Taiwan, and I'll be going to some places tomorrow to see the places that Sunseam went to. But I'm really, really excited about this too. But today, man, I went on this awesome ocean view cafe. It's on my Instagram. The place is awesome. It was so amazing, and it was like it's situated in a way that you're staring right at the water. I'm not sure even what the right way to describe it is. Well, it's obviously Thursday for it's yesterday because you guys listen to this on Friday. But man, it was so nice. I honestly could just stare outside forever, just watching the ocean. You can hear the ocean too. Really big windows. You just get this full view of the ocean. And I don't know what it is, guys. They were telling me this cafe is always packed and busy, and whenever sometimes they will come to this cafe and there's no space. You can't even get a seat. But the crazy part was we walked in, it was empty. And we got the best seat in the house, just overlooking the ocean. It was awesome. And they were telling me, number one is the weather is awesome, right? It's wintertime over here in Taiwan, but, winter's still 20 degrees. But there's wintertime, and the weather is awesome today. They're like, oh, God must really love you. And, even for me, I was going, man, I can't deny it. Or all the things God has shown me, even when I went to Ilan, they said, man, the weather is just perfect today. When I was in Taiwan, I came for the first week, the weather was awesome. And now that my schedule in Taipei, when I first came to Taipei, the first week was awesome of weather. But now that my schedule is basically finished for Taipei, it's raining again, but I'm back on my regular schedule, doing my podcast at certain times. And, it's pretty relaxing. But, one of the things Sunseam did say is you can tell if God is with you by looking at the weather. And I'm like, man, God is really, really with me. And I'm so grateful and thankful for all how God is taking care of me through the people around here too. And I'm having an amazing time here in Hualien. Even at that Oceanside Cafe, man, that coffee wasn't too bad either. They had pretty good coffee. And what's even crazier is that they have 3 goats outside, and they get milk from those goats for the latte. And I was like, what? Now, for me, when they said, would you like a goat milk latte? I was like, no, hell no. I'm not going to take a risk. So I just stuck with cow's milk because that's the thing I'm used to. And I want my, coffee to taste good. I don't want to take any risks for my coffee. So I didn't want to ruin the moment with the risk of a goat milk latte. But I'm glad I didn't get it because one of my friends ordered it and they were like, man, it tastes weird. And I'm like, oh, thank God I didn't get the goat milk latte. But yes, some people really enjoy goat milk. Myself, not really a big goat milk person. Oh, but man, in Hualien, my first day here on Thursday, just great conversation. I really, really enjoyed it. Very comfortable. When we were at the cafe, it was the head leader and some of the people running full time in the church. Great conversation, right? And it was just so comfortable. The conversations we were talking about. One of the things that I was talking about is a lot of times people will hear my experiences in Providence, whether it's demon possession, seeing spirits or ghosts, healing people, or passing people. I would one of the things that I tried was trying to pass someone in one day. And guess what, guys? I passed 3 people in one day. I mean, not in one day, all one day each. It's insane. And it's just trying it out. Right? And one of the things that people ask is hey, how come, you experience those things, but we don't? Or a lot of people don't experience these types of things. And I basically said that the only way you're going to experience extreme blessing is if you take extreme actions. Right? So if you want extreme blessings, you need to take extreme actions. The very first time I taught someone in one day and they passed in one day, they realized and everything else in one day, was a South African when I was in the UK, and we went straight up 8 hours. I just taught and taught and taught, and we went all the way overnight, and it was crazy because the people came to the church or the house for pre-dawn, and I was still teaching. Actually, when pre-dawn time came, I was teaching times, and half a times. Like that's crazy. Then there's another guy that they introduced 8 hours. Like 8.5 hours. And then they introduced someone else, and we went 10.5 hours, and they realized in one day, in one Bible study sitting. And I did do it one other time with with a newcomer in Australia. And we went 6.5 hours, and by the end of it, they realized. Like, that's how crazy it was. So, but think about it. That's extreme. Like, you would think to yourself, oh, let's just finish now. Let's just not, we've already gone for 3 hours, so let's stop here. No, we went extreme, right? And that's it. If you want extreme blessings, you need to take extreme actions. But I would say that most people kind of like to play it safe. Stay in the middle zone when they're not going to be too great and not too bad. So what happens is when you're kind of stuck in that middle zone, you kind of become numb. Right? And then Providence sometimes starts to feel boring or not exciting. And it's mainly because we don't experience like extremes of joy. Right? But there's one caveat to this. When you take extreme action, just as you have extreme joy, you're going to experience extreme suffering at the same time. You're going to experience it. Right? And it's like when you do extreme things, when it doesn't work out, it really doesn't work out. And when you do things in an extreme way, when it works out awesome, right? Like, you got to be willing to take the risks. Like if there's someone's story that I would say would be like if someone in the world who has a very, very a great story to explain my point here is Warren Buffett. He's worth like $100 billion, right? $100 billion. But he was telling one of his stories, he made a mistake that cost his company $2 billion. Like, that's crazy. That's extreme. Incredibly extreme. But then on the flip side, he's worth $100 billion. So when you do things in an extreme way, one of the hard parts is just as you experience the extreme joys, you also experience extreme suffering. Right? So that's kind of one of the reasons why people don't want to take those risks, right? Like, it's like gambling. When you're not, well, it's not gambling, obviously, but when you do something like extreme gambling, you either win a lot or you either lose a lot. It's one of the two. So that's something I do think that we have to take into consideration. But that's just the reality of it. If you want to experience extreme joy, you got to take extreme action. If you want to know how amazing prayer is, you're not going to feel it that like powerfully if you don't do things in an extreme way, right? Like I was telling this story, like I almost forgot this story, but I told you guys before about like demon possession and casting out Satan's and demons and stuff. There's one time, almost about 10 years ago, I was in Taiwan. This is a story of spiritual possession in Taiwan, and I was telling my stories about spiritual possession. Okay. And how I healed someone from spiritual possession in Vancouver, okay? And after that, after I gave that testimony, there was a woman who asked me to pray for her because she was spiritually possessed. So what happened? Like, I was talking to her about what happened? And basically she was saying that in a dream, while she was sleeping, there was a spirit that came to her and she thought it was Jesus. It looked like Jesus. She thought it was Jesus and she let him in. And then later she found out that it was not Jesus, but another spirit that was disguised as Jesus. So she would let her into like her heart or her body, whatever it is, right? So we're in the room and I'm talking to this mother. And the daughter's sitting in the room too, and there's some other leaders there. And all of a sudden, like, because her daughter's very spiritual too and can feel spirits, all of a sudden the daughter begins to kind of like push herself away, like something's going. She sees something and she begins to become afraid, and she says, "He's here." And you can feel like the atmosphere in the room just get dark and heavy. And you kind of like, when she said he's here, I look and basically the spirit is taking over the woman and starting to speak through that woman. Now, at that point, I'm like, hey guys, if you guys are afraid, don't stay in the room. It's better for you to go away, right? You don't want to get influenced by the spirit and stuff. So the people who were scared left the room. Now, as we were talking, a lot of us were kind of before the spirit came in, we were guessing and kind of figuring out what spirit is this? And they were kind of guessing that it was this woman's father, something like that, right? So when the spirit came and we started talking to the spirit, we were treating the spirit like it was her father, like talking like, hey, she has to live her life. It's better for you to leave and stuff like this too. And then, we asked the spirit to leave. Then we started to pray for the spirit to leave also. And just as things seemed to be getting somewhere, all of a sudden the woman went silent. Then the spirit goes, like the spirit makes this sound. And it was like, what? And then the woman says, because the woman kind of, the woman says, it's not my father. The spirit was tricking us. And that's why the spirit was laughing at us, because we thought it was the father. And in the end, we couldn't get rid of the spirit. Like she's still, like we prayed for her and everything else, but we couldn't get rid of the spirit. And, some people might ask us, why couldn't we get rid of the spirit? And Sunstein says there's two ways to cast out spirits. And the first way is obviously the one that we see on TV and in the Bible. It's like, in the name of Jesus, we cast you out. And it's like, and the spirit leaves the body. Like, that's one of the ways it happens. It can be instantaneous. But Sunstein also said the second way is you just need to keep taking care of this person every day. Right? Like, for instance, the person who was demon-possessed that I helped in Vancouver, this person, I stayed with them almost every day for 3 weeks, and until the spirit left him, right? And then this guy was like really, really good after that, right? So, apparently this this woman probably needed someone to take care of her every day before that spirit would leave her and stuff like that too. So, like, that's like, I was talking about this, I almost forgot about this experience, but I was remembering it because I was telling them, like, yeah, you got to be bold, right? Go extreme, which means that I was like, they're like, can you pray for the spirit to leave? I'm like, sure, let's do it. I went to the room and started talking, and you feel like the spirit come in the room, the spirit's talking to the woman, and you're like, let's go, let's just do this kind of thing. So, so that's kind of one of my points I was making is, if you want extreme joy, you got to take extreme action, right? It's going to be the same with anything in life, even when it comes to, like, say, making money and such. If you want to make a lot of money, you got to be extreme in your actions, your businesses when you're trying to make money too. So, like, yeah, we just had some great conversation. Another conversation we talked about was, what was it? We talked about the perfection of, like, a head leader, and how, like, and I was telling her, like, even for me when I was head leading, like, you have a pride, but you want to look good in front of your members, and you try to be perfect. Like, you really, really try to be perfect. Like, you don't want to make mistakes. You go to every prayer, whatever it is, you're trying your best. And, like, the one thing that, this leader was telling me is, I was sharing my testimony, and a part of my testimony, I do talk very honestly, like, yeah, I wanted to get back into church, and I also wanted a girlfriend. I didn't have a girlfriend in high school because I was too much into sports, so I really, really, really wanted a girlfriend in university, right? And one of the things I was looking for is a girlfriend, so that's one of the reasons I want to go to church. But, when someone becomes very honest, the person speaking, if you're a leader, you might think to yourself that it's something that is not something that they want to hear from a leader. But what I would say is that's something that everyone would want to hear from a leader, like being honest. And when you're honest and talk about your struggles, then you become super relatable to the members. Like, I remember one time, I was a newcomer, not even a year in Providence. I evangelized someone from my campus. And because I wanted to be a good example, like, whenever there was pretty girls or whatever it is, I would not even look at them. I would stare straight, making sure I would not look at these girls, right? And the crazy part was, later on, after this person passed, like, they kind of told me, like, this guy was telling me like, man, like when I first met you, like there would be pretty girls looking at you or whatever it is, but you wouldn't even give them the time of day. And it actually made him struggle more because he thought to himself, I have to be like this, but here I am staring at girls and here I am looking at girls here and there. But I told him like, no, I was doing it on purpose because I wanted to be a better example to you. And it actually made it harder for him because he thought he had to be like that too. Do you know what I mean? So like one of the things I love about Sunseem is like so transparent. Remember we talked about that like 3 weeks ago when Sunseem was like, I slept late. So I woke up late for pre-dawn. And Sunseem is very honest about, when he makes mistakes or when he didn't wake up for pre-dawn or when he's late for pre-dawn and stuff too. He's very honest about it. And because of that, we feel that he's way more relatable because he does that. You know what I mean? So, in the same way too, a lot of times, we have to understand what the head leader is going through. And the head leader also needs to understand that, they don't need to be perfect, right? We just need to be perfect at our level, right? But we're not going to be perfect at everything. It's almost like if you're a level 6 and then you're dealing with a level 7 problem, you're not going to deal with it. You just can't because you've never experienced, you haven't overcome level 7 yet, right? We can only do as well as our level. So, we had a lot of great conversation. And even after, we went to the church, I was really happy just to see the church. And the church too is really cool because we just had a time of potluck. It was not any official time. We're just talking and joking and laughing together. And, just naturally, there was like a lot of sharing. And naturally, we were just able to talk about all the things that were connected. Like we were talking about one of the Taiwanese members. He's in charge of conducting in Taiwan. And we would talk about it. Like we would talk about him and then we talk about, we were in the UK together. And then all of a sudden a story about the UK would come out. There's another member who's about 3 years older than me. He's blessed family. And 1999, him and I were both in Milan, Italy together. We didn't meet each other though, but when we talked about it, then a story about Italy came out too between me and Sunseem when I got healed of my collarbone and stuff like that too. So it was just so natural. There were like babies there, so I felt like really a lot of healing and stuff. But it was awesome. I really, really, really enjoyed my time here, and because it's more of like a vacation city, and there's not a lot of people, not a lot of people, like most of the people that come from Hualien are the ones that kind of leave and go to Taipei or Taichung or Kaohsiung. Like they'll go to like the bigger cities and stuff to work. But one of the good things is just comfortable there. People are relaxed, they're chill. It's so comfortable. I really, really enjoyed this place here. So I can't wait for tomorrow where I'll be able to do a little bit more sightseeing, go to the places where Sunseem went to. And of course, I want to try some coffee and stuff like that too. There's a member that has a cafe over here and I'm going to go check it out tomorrow. So I'm super excited about that too. Oh, but one last thing. One thing I was really thinking about this week, especially like yesterday I was talking about, reflecting back on 2023. I was thinking about like temptation. Of course, all the, people succumbing to temptation this year, whether it's KJS or, all the other people that we heard of or the people that left, right? And when I was looking back at this year, I think one of the comments I heard the most this year is, how did this happen to KJS? How did this happen, right? And it's so interesting because I realized from all these comments is we were looking at her in the wrong way. Like we were almost looking at her like she was the man of mission. And not saying she was. I'm just saying that we're almost putting her at that level. Like we put her in a position where she is someone at such a high level that it was impossible in our minds to think that she could ever leave this history, let alone commit such sins. Like we put her at such a high level that I was thinking to myself, it's like we kind of made her or treated her like she was divine. Wouldn't you say, guys? Kind of like she kind of became like divine because she was the one with the man of mission. And it's so interesting because it was never said that she was divine, right? or not even anything close to it. The only person that we know that we have to have absolute, faith in, and who is the head, is the man of mission. And even though we heard this time and time again, there's only one head. There's no one else. There's only one person that reached that level. And even at times, KJS would say that she was nothing close to that level. Like, no one has reached that level unless it was the man of mission. And what makes it more interesting is that, once KJS fell from grace, people started to question Sunsim. And then some people are even thinking that, well, if she can do it, then he could have done all those crimes and stuff because of what happened to KJS. And you can see how high we put KJS. We put her so high to the point, we held her so high that she basically became almost divine. And when she fell from grace, we compared her to Sunsim. Like, well, if she can fall like this, then Sunsim can be the same. I think it was almost like it was a big hope that we had. Like, it was almost like a dream, right? A dream that someone could reach that level besides Sunsim. And then we could be even more hopeful, like, wow, if someone like her, who's a regular human being, who wasn't trained by, the Holy Son or Jesus, but if Sunsim can train this person, and this person can become amazing and awesome, like, that is a huge hope for us that we can make it too. And I thought to myself, maybe we wanted it more than we should have. Because if we think about it, if we didn't think about her too highly, like at that level, and if we treated her properly, like the way we should have, then I think how we pray for her and supported her would have been different. Right? Like, if I really think about it, like, here she is, not divine. She's not the man of mission trained at that level. And at that, when she became that high of a position, I can't imagine what type of temptation or the amount of temptation she had. Because it's so different than what we face. Right? Like, for instance, how do we know that her position is really hard? Because we have seen many times before her, people at the position of like the top of Providence fall for the same temptations. And it's many times. And it's basically the higher you go, the bigger the temptation. The more Satan, throws temptations and things at you. In the past, Sunsim told us, like, what is the greatest temptation? It's not money or sex. What is it? It's power. Sunsim said power is the number one temptation of humankind. Power is the real struggle. It's the biggest temptation. Because, you got to think about this. Like, all the people that struggled in Providence and they left, they're the ones that wanted to be so close to Sunsim. They're the ones that wanted to get a letter. They're the ones they're the ones, remember the time when being a star was like the big trend? Like, they're the ones that wanted to be a star. And if they couldn't become a star, they got so upset. Like, oh, why didn't God choose me? They were the ones that wanted titles. They wanted positions in the church. Like, why are the struggle is real. Because when I say certain these things that people are struggling with, we all struggle with it. And I just think we don't understand, we can't comprehend how big the temptation is the higher you move up in position. The more you move up the ladder, the more you are going to get harder and harder temptations. Which also means that the higher you move up, the less room there is for mistakes. And if you get to the top of the top, there is no room for mistakes. And I think that that's kind of one of the reasons why Sunsim is amazing, because he's been doing it for so long. Like, when I think about my life, man, I have felt the seduction of power, that temptation many times, and how much Satan just dangles that carrot of power right in front of you. And for me, I think because, as a man, and I think it's probably something that men are probably more tempted by, like power, but the wanting of power, being above others, having others listen to you or respect you, Like in the very beginning, it's very uncomfortable when people put you on a high pedestal. But the problem is when you get used to it or when you start to like it, then, Satan comes in and just try to seduce you with that temptation. Because power makes you arrogant. Power makes you self-centered, takes your eyes off God, making you think that you are God, that you're the one with all the power. And, I would say that it's scary. You can feel it creep into your heart. You can really, really feel it. Like one of the scariest moments I think is when you get upset because someone won't listen to you. And why is that scary? Because it means that you are being seduced by power. Because the reality is, no one has to listen to you. But when you get upset because someone won't listen to you, that's a problem. Arrogance creeps in when you feel that people have to listen to you or do it your way. And that's why I think it's a great lesson when we see what happens this year with all these great leaders leaving. I think there should always be a healthy fear whenever you start moving up in position. You should have that healthy fear of, changing and, like wanting to get seduced by power. And I think that's something that we really, really have to think about, right? The people who go to power, we need people who are afraid of that power and the ones that are humble and they lay themselves down before God so that we don't make the same mistakes as our ancestors in the past. Right? People need to know what you're stepping into when you hit these really, really big positions, and you need that healthy fear, right? So yeah, I was really thinking about this, and I was like, man, and it's good. I think it's very good for me too to have that healthy fear. Like I don't want to be in a leadership position. I have that fear. Because I see what happened to KJS, and she was big, and she was someone we all respected and loved so much. But when you really think about it, it's like, wow, yeah, that's crazy. Like it makes you kind of very weary and afraid of getting into that type of position. So yeah, I think for me, it's a very good and healthy fear right now because I think we should have that fear for sure. Either way. Yeah, lots of things to think about for this weekend, but I hope you guys are just really enjoying all the different things that are happening. I hope you guys are having a great time in your countries, in your cities, in your churches. For me, like I said, I'm having an awesome time in Taiwan. I've basically traveled the entire country, and tomorrow I'll be doing some sightseeing and talking to some members, but very, very grateful and thankful that God is taking care of me over here too. All right, so before we get into the Wednesday Message Word Study, let's first get into the first break of the day.
Please don't let me down, Lord. I know I can trust you with all my heart. So I'm on my knees praying for you to always come through. Even if I pray all night, all I want is for your will be done. So I'm on my knees praying for you to always come through. No, I'm not slipping through. No, I'm not falling down. The only thing that's falling is my knees on the floor. I'm praying, Lord, will you give me strength? Lord, will you give me power? I can't do this myself, so bless me in the morning hours. All the demons test me, but they will never shake me. If I pray, they hate me. If I pray, you love me. Connected with you is the only thing that matters. And honestly, I couldn't be happier. While I'm praying on my knees, I trust you with all my heart. For you always come through. For myself, for my family, for myself alone I pray. Please don't let me down, Lord. I know I can trust you with all my heart. So I'm on my knees praying for you to always come through. Even if I pray all all night. All I want is for your will be done. So I'm on my knees, praying for you to always come through. I pray to never just settle for good when great is available. Who's the mastermind behind this mind? I give all the credit to God, that's why I'm back. They mad that I made it, I know that the Satans, they hate it. I keep working hard just to make progress. Now I'm on 10, trust the process, ayy. Look at my efforts lately, I'm setting conditions daily. I'm praying on my knees, so bless me. Please bless me, please bless me. Tribulations always come and go, I will never stop, just always know your focus determines reality, stay solid, that's why I'm praying on my knees. I trust you with all my heart, for you to always come through. For myself, for my family, on myself alone I pray. Please don't let me down, Lord. I know I can trust you with all my heart. So I'm on my knees, praying for you to always come through. Even if I pray all night, all I want is for your will be done. So I'm on my knees, praying for you to always come through. SB.
All right, so let's get into today's word study. And every Friday we have the Wednesday message word study. Very grateful and thankful for all of you always listening to this podcast. And like I said, I'm always grateful and thankful for those of you guys who are supporting financially on Patreon. Everything that you've done has been such a major and awesome help for me, especially as I'm traveling here in other countries, meeting people, getting their testimonies, and like testifying about all these things on this podcast too. So very grateful and thankful once again. So let's get into the Wednesday message. And once again, Wednesday message is done by the head leaders. Very thankful, and I am hoping that you guys get some really, really good points from this week's message. There's 3 points that I'm going to really, really focus on. And one of the biggest themes in the first part of the Wednesday message, or about the Sunday message, is about obeying the word. And how important is obeying the word? It's your destiny is determined by whether you obey or not. And I was thinking about this very carefully and wondering to myself is how deeply do we know what this word is actually saying to us? Your destiny is determined by whether you obey or not. And when you look at the entire Bible, this is absolutely true. So, we know the story of Adam and Eve. If they just obeyed the word of not eating the fruit of the tree knowledge of good and evil, what would have happened? All of history until now would have been completely different. Do you know how big Providence would be right now? Providence would be huge because from the very beginning, Adam and Eve would not commit the fall, and we would not be multiplying sin. Instead, we'd be multiplying righteousness instead. That is the biggest and the most cataclysmic decision, right? That was destiny, right? Destiny was absolutely determined at that time. And when I looked at that, I was like, man, that's so crazy, right? But the one that I was thinking about the most is I talk about this before, is Abraham. What about Abraham? And here's the thing, I was thinking to myself, why? Why is it we don't understand about our destinies being determined, right? Why isn't it something that's in the front of our minds? And the answer is because we don't see the other path we didn't take. Do you know what I mean? See, when you look at the Bible, you're going to see 2 types of people, those that succeeded and those that failed. However, we're looking at their story of the path that they took with their choices, right? If you look at a King Saul, you look at a Samson, right? These people disobeyed the word. Samson was told not to tell anyone where his strength came from, but he told Delilah, and that's why, he got his eyes poked out. He was totally made fun of and stuff by the Philistines and such, right? But we only look at the one decision they made, but we don't see the alternative. And that's why sometimes we have to think about the alternative. What does that mean? One of the classic examples that I always use is Abraham. Remember, I'm talking about why we don't realize how big the decisions we make are. Like, it does determine our destiny. Look at Abraham. And one of the biggest conditions he set was sacrificing his own son, right? And one of the things that we don't realize is we only know that he was going to sacrifice his son. So we only know that path because we see exactly what happens. He becomes the father of faith, father of all nations. History begins with Abraham, right? But here's the crazy part. Imagine, you have to think about what would have happened if he didn't do it. You know what I mean? Like, imagine he didn't have the strength to sacrifice his own son. What would have happened? And imagine what the Bible would be written about Noah if he made that choice instead. He would no longer be the father of faith. He would not have set the condition to start the history of God. Jesus could not say that I am not the God of the dead, but of the living. I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He couldn't say Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. All those things would be gone. But then the crazy part was, would Abraham know what he's missing out on? Would he know that he would have become, when Jesus would talk about his name, I am the God of the living, right? Would he know that he would become the father of all nations? And the answer is no. We make our choices in life, and when we make that choice, we just make that choice without thinking about the repercussions. We don't know what would have happened if we made the other choice. We just don't. But the one thing good about the Bible is the Bible tells us what happened to Abraham because he made the right choice, which means that if he didn't make the right choice, all these things that we read in the Bible would not happen. But here's the thing. Whenever people make choices in the Bible, is God sitting there and laughing at them if you didn't do this, you would have become like this? God doesn't do that. God just lets you make your decision. And when you make your decision, you have no idea what you're missing out on. Which means the reason I'm bringing this up is this is how important it is for us to make the right choices. And when you don't, life just moves on. You're like, oh, okay, well, nothing really happened. And the answer is, well, yeah, that's correct. Nothing happened when something should have. So when I was thinking about this, we really have to think about the choices we make each and every day. The second point that I thought was really interesting when he talks about whenever God is doing something big, like the big picture stuff, there's two things. There's two ways that God does it when it comes to the big will. The first thing is, before something starts, God will prophesy about the future through the prophets, right? And the second thing when it comes to something that's very, very big picture will, it is God speaks to the descendants thousands of years later when the next history started. And at that time, he speaks to the man of mission, right? He'll speak it before to the man of mission, and he'll tell the man of mission, this is word that I gave through the prophets in the past, so do it and fulfill my prophecy. It's really interesting when you think about this because one thing you can realize is, wait a second. When God is fulfilling a will, sometimes, remember what's the second method? God will speak to the descendants thousands of years later, which means sometimes we're not going to know exactly what's going to happen in our lifetime. Some of the prophecies Sunstein makes, we're not going to know. And if you think about it, what's a classic example? Think about Daniel. Daniel's 3,000 years ago or however long it was it around 3,000? No, not even 3,000. Maybe 2,500 years ago. Daniel receives times and half of times, but he has no idea what it means. But when do we get it? 2,500 years later. That's thousands of years later. So here's the thing. So if this is the case where sometimes God's going to say something, sometimes God doesn't say something, it's okay, so this is kind of what is going on. But the thing you have to think about is this, right? There are some things that won't be fulfilled in our lifetime. So it's then how are we supposed to know that this person is the man of mission? If there's some things that he says will not even be fulfilled thousands of years later, right? Well, the answer is the Word. Everything happens through the Word. Because of the Word, we realize this history. Because of the Word, we're able to understand and know, this is why this person is, right? That's why the Word is given first. So we realize the man of mission first. And once we realize who the man of mission is, then from that point on, it's very easy to believe and understand and know what is happening in this history right now, right? And that's something we really, really have to push ourselves to realize even more. The man of mission, right? The man of mission is going to be the one that either fulfills it, or he might even talk about things that are going to happen in the future. And we're going to be able to see that much, much later. But we shouldn't be basing it on those types of things. We base the man of mission through the word that is preached. And that word is enough. And once you have that, you're able to kind of move to that next level also. So that's kind of one of the things, it's so deep when you think about the way God works in the big picture, how he fulfills things in the big picture. It's either spoken early through the prophecies of the prophets, or it's spoken thousands of years later to the descendants. And I'm just like, what? That's so crazy, right? Some things we're never going to see in our lifetime. But it's not like we need that prophecy to be fulfilled in order for us to say that this is the man of mission. Why? Because the word itself is enough. Yeah. The last thing I thought was really deep was when the word talked about who is a masterpiece of faith of the highest grade and the highest strength. Like that is something you're like going, whoa, how do I become a masterpiece, like a person of faith at the highest grade and the highest strength? And it was only one sentence. It's the person who stores the word deep in their hearts and inscribes it deep in their brains, absolutely believes it, and values it perfectly. That's the one who has masterpiece faith. Highest grade, highest strength. It's all about the word. Inscribe it deep in your hearts, in your brains. Believe it and value it perfectly. And that is the person of faith, of the highest grade and highest strength. And I think that's something that we can all strive and reach for too. All right. Oh, what a great message. I hope you guys really enjoyed this too. And it's a little bit short today. But I hope you guys really, really enjoyed. If you have any other things you want to add to it, please leave it in the comments below. Would love to hear what you guys think about this too. Okay? Which means before we get into Until the End with Daniel Baker, let's first get into the second break of the day.
When you lift me up from falling, I feel your warm embrace, breathing life into my withering spirit, pouring out your love and grace. So I think to myself, I'll repay you. Ooh, oh. You pulled me out of darkness so many thousands of times. You gave me strength and courage, everything that I need in life. Look at all the countless blessings, I'll repay you. Ooh, oh. Even if the world forsakes you and they misunderstand what it means to be in providence, holding God's truth in our hands, we fulfill the greatest history, God's will and highest love. All the wondrous miracles you've shown, only here in Providence. Providence, push forward, we'll run till with our solid faith, we'll repay you with all our heart, will and life. Now revealed, you've shared his highest wisdom, valued secrets of how to live. Looking back at all the memories, I'll repay you. Ooh, oh. Even if the world forsakes you and they misunderstand, what a blessing it is that you're here, acting with God hand in hand. We receive the greatest rapture, we've gained eternal joy. This is God's final history, never will it be destroyed. Providence will shine our brightest light for your dreams. Your work will be earth. Yeah, we'll preach, gain all that you want to achieve. Even if the world forsakes you and they don't understand, we're more than proud to be here, holding God's truth in our hands. We fulfill the greatest history, God's will and highest love. Your words, your precious providence, we'll cherish it till the end. Providence will stand till the end. Providence will live with our God. Providence, love God with our heart, will and life.
Okay, so let's get into our final segment of the day and for the entire week. And of course, every Friday we have Until the End with Daniel Baker. Just really grateful and thankful. And soon, so when I go to Malaysia next week, Daniel and his entire family will also be coming to Malaysia for 3 weeks. So that's going to be quite exciting too. So I can't wait to see him over there in Malaysia. We're going to, go see the sights, go see Port Dickson where the tide stopped, go play volleyball together and stuff like that too. So I'm really excited about this also. All right. So here it is, guys. This is all the way from South Korea. This is Daniel Baker with Until the End.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the Do It Until the End podcast. Hope everyone is having an amazing week. And today I'm recording outside in the nature of Korea. Well, technically it's not the nature because I am in Gumsan, but I'm away from people. I want to talk about, getting your mental health straight. And I don't know why. It's probably because it's the end of the year, but also it's a time where there's a lot of change within my mission, within where I'm gonna go, and to live in the future. So many things are so ambiguous that keeping a healthy mental state is very, very important even for me right now. So last week we talked about psychological skill training. And it was a lot of fun talking about one of the biggest things that to go forward, what we need is very good goals. And, how are we going to make better goals for the future? And how are we going to really run towards those goals? Now, those are the very important things that we talked about last week. And that was the first part. Now, today we're going to talk about a part of psychological skill training that you might think it's really looking towards, or it's focused towards the athletes, right? Because it's the fact is that the physical aroused state of a human being is when a person is very tense and is the physical embodiment of stress, right? That's the state of arousal, right? And getting out of that state into a much more calm state so you can really focus. Like if you're a volleyball player, if you're a soccer player, and if you're too stiff because of stress and those kind of factors, then it'll actually be very bad for you. However, there's a very interesting thing because that stress alone, being in that stress state, can really, if you have like a presentation you have to do in front of the church or your family or for work, if you're in that super highly aroused state and you're super stressed all the time, then it's very hard for you to do that presentation or do the thing, especially like public speaking. It can have a massive effect on it. So today we're going to talk about suppressing the state of arousal and making yourself go into a less stressful state and a much more calm and more present state. Because the fact is that if you have a lot of stress, then it's very difficult to be in the present. It's very difficult to think about right now. Stress is kind of, if you have a lot of stress, you only think about the future. And it's the same for me too, right? If I have a lot of stress, it's because, I'm focused on what's going to happen next month or 2 months from now. And those things are very bad for, stress is very bad for the current situation, right? And I have these theories, right, of why we have so much stress about the future, right? Stress kind of propels us, in a good way, it propels us to do better things, to fight the better fight, right? But overall, stress for participating and doing stuff right now or in the present is very bad, right? And you can see this in many people, right? People who either got abused, victims of sexual harassment, those kind of stuff. Their whole world crumbles to a state that they're so focused on the past of what happened, but also how they're going to live in the future, that they kind of don't have any time to really think about the present, right? So that's why it's so important to suppress this state of arousal of the physical body. But also there's a mental aspect also, right? So one of the best ways we can relieve the stress, there's two ways for, let's talk about the mental aspect. So there's two ways to suppress the mental aspect. The first one is meditation. Now, of course, meditation is such an overly used, and so it's a common thing, right, for people to recommend. Meditate, it's very good for you. But let's be real, right? Meditation doesn't really help if you don't turn off your brain, right? So there's a couple ways to turn off your brain, right? One is to literally lay down and just think about nothing, right? Think or try to focus on your breath, the large breaths you are taking. So what you would do is you will lay down. It's like taking a deep nap, and you will take these deep breaths, and you really focus. You put all of your mental strength into focusing on those breaths. Why? It's kind of a very interesting psychological way of reprogramming your mind. And you focus on these deep breaths, right? What is your body physically doing constantly? Even though your mind might be focused on the future or focused on the past, what is the one thing your mind is doing or your body is doing? Your body is constantly taking big, deep breaths, right? However, that's the one thing that's, happening in the present constantly, right? Without you even thinking, your body is breathing. Your heart is beating, right? But if you focus on those kinds of things that happen all the time, you're focusing on the present, right? And when you focus on the present, a lot of that stress that comes from either your past or your future, or thinking about the future, will really go away. It's like a really good temporarily way of getting away of relieving that stress. So for your presentations and those kind of stuff. Now the second way I really like to relieve or that arousal state is by prayer, right? One is I think both is focusing clearly on things, right? The first for meditation is you're focusing on your breath, whatever. You're focusing, you're looking forward at like a dot. You're focusing. But also for prayer, you're focusing towards the Trinity. You're focused on, conversing and having a really good time with the Trinity. Now, that's a really good thing to do, I recommend. So prayer and meditation to get out of that aroused state. The third one, okay? Now, this is very interesting because it's more of a physical aspect, more physical body, right? So I want you to imagine that you're laying down, right? And you have a lot of this stress or this tension because your body is either stressed, your mind is stressed, and you want to relieve that stress from your physical body. Then what you want to do is you want to go either from up to down or down to up from your body, right? So either head to your toes or your toes to your head. And you go through each muscle you can think of. So first I'll go with my toes. And I'm going with my toes and I give them strength. Like I give all of my strength I can give to those toes for 20 seconds, right? For 20 seconds, I give like all of my strength. So it's like after 20 seconds, you might even cramp a little bit, right? And then after 20 seconds, you release that stress. You release. How long are you going to release it? For a minute, right? Now, it'll be very good if you use a stopwatch or just counting to 60 would be also a good idea. Now, after that, like the basic way you want to think about this is you want to intentionally put stress on your body parts, on that one body part. And then if you intentionally put stress for 20 seconds and then you relax it for 60 seconds, then, your body kind of thinks to itself that, I have more time that I'm in a more relaxed state. Your body's going to think, I should be more relaxed. So you do that for your toes, your shins, your ankles. Do all the body parts. And I recommend you that after doing all of the body parts, after doing your arms, your neck, your forehead, there's all these muscles within your whole body. If you do that for like 10 minutes, that can be life or death for like a presentation or like a tournament. Getting out of that state of arousal, getting out of that state of stress is very important for the future, right? So I really believe that this can help me, even me right now. It can really help because of a lot of the stress that's going through my life and even your guys' life. Because to be honest, it's kind of scary living right now because it's the time of punishment. This is the time where we need to repent, right? So God's kind of urging us to really repent, and it could be a stressful time, but also it's a time we need to be very calm, right? So that's all I prepared for you guys today. I hope you guys are enjoying your weekend. And I really thank Pastor Sky and the Trinity for giving me this platform to really talk to you guys too. I truly thank you. And to everyone who's going until the end, so we can go with the Trinity. Let's walk this path together. Peace out, guys. Bye-bye.
And there you go. What another wonderful episode by Daniel Baker over there in Korea. Yes, that is Until the End Mental Health Podcast. Hope you guys really enjoyed that. And what does that mean, guys? We've come to the end of today's podcast. Hope you guys really enjoyed it and looking forward to an awesome weekend. Spend it well, rest, relax, do the things you need to do, get new direction through the Sunday message. And we'll see you guys again, once again, on Monday on the Morning Star Drive on 117.8.
It's the Morning Star Drive 117.8. You soaring up with sky, now's the time, don't delay. I'm sitting in my ride and it's time to fly. So let's realign, just listen and fill your mind.
I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the Morning Star Drive, you know. I'm burning with desire and the passion. Nobody can stop me when I'm like this. I got my head in the zone, you know. I'm on the Morning Star Drive, you know.